All fans Marvel main continuity. Hello everybody, this is Route 616 episode 45. Wow. And it is just Bill and I again this week because Dan's probably like in a fire or something.
He had to enter counseling after the comics we covered last week.
Yeah, I gave him a business card that I had. So. uh, but yeah, so no Dan this week, but that's okay. He's not missing anything too. I mean, he's missing some good Iron Mans, but that's about it really for.
He's missing one of the most important X-Men moments of all time, even though I hate that it's an important X-Men moment of all time.
Yeah, I was kind of just glossing over that, but very true.
Oh no. The fact that they have never retconned that, despite being given a much better explanation, is not being forgiven.
So this week we have an interesting lineup of comics, mostly good. I say mostly because there's some things at the tail end that make it from being that stop it from being an all good week. But
That's all right. We got end of the month stuff to pull it back up after that.
we do indeed, and yeah, it's good for. I totally remembered the end of the month stuff was this week too. But yeah, anyways, X-Men. We will start off this week, of course, with the X-Men we've been teasing and poking fun at for the last week or so. With issue number 9, of course. Then we will move into some Tales of Suspense Iron Man stories with issue 61 and 62A stories. Then Avengers issue number 11, and then Tales of Suspense 61 and 62B stories for Captain America stories. So let's get right into this, I suppose, and go to Bill's favorite X-Men moment as we enter X-Men number 9, which is titled Enter the Avengers.
Okay, let's not put it that way. I actually like this X-Men comic. I just don't like the explanation of Xavier's paralysis.
Fair enough. This is actually a decent comic. Stan Lee writing, of course. Jack Kirby with Chick Stone inks. Then we have cover art by Jack and Chick, of course. And Sam Rosen's on letters. November 1964 release. And this is a 20-page story. It felt like about 32, but here we go.
Really, I found this one a fast read.
This one and the last one were faster than normal, actually. These stories are starting to become easier to read, which is nice.
I think it helped that we weren't in the danger room for this one.
In the Northern Atlantic, a freighter is on a collision course with an iceberg. Suddenly, 2 red beams of light shoot out from the front of the ship and destroy the iceberg. Scott Summers and the rest of the X-Men head back to their cabin before anyone can see where the strange light came from.
Scott is responsible for the Titanic by not zapping the iceberg, confirmed.
The X-Men attend to Scott, who became wary after having to use his powers so rigorously. Scott explains to the other X-Men that Professor Xavier has told him that they had a mission in Europe. By the way, if I sound weird, it's because I've been sick for about a week now, but I just want to throw that out there. Suddenly, another transmission from Professor Xavier comes in, telling the students that he has located his foe, Lucifer, in a cave in the Balkans. And Lucifer became a topic of discussion last issue, when we learned that Xavier was searching for this lad. He tells the X-Men that he wants them to come to the cave. If he is unable to stop Lucifer, they can finish him off. Professor Xavier entered. They are kind of hinting towards murder in this issue, but it's left ambiguous for a while. Professor Xavier enters the cave, but is engulfed by a cyclone that places him in front of Lucifer. Professor Xavier pulls a gun on Lucifer, but learns that if he pulls the trigger, the world will be doomed. Bum bum bum.
So, yeah, they're not just hinting at murder anymore. Despite what he says later in the story, at this moment, Xavier was definitely going to just kill Lucifer.
Oh, yeah. Xavier was totally going to kill Lucifer here. That does change later in the issue, though. The X-Men The X-Men arrive in a Bavarian village. The Avengers arrive just behind them because they are investigating strange impulses detected by Thor's hammer. Lucifer reveals to Professor Xavier that he has built a thermal detonator attached to his heartbeat. If he is harmed or killed, it will blow up, causing worldwide damage. Lucifer knows that the X-Men have arrived in Europe, so he fires an ionic ray at them. Professor Xavier warns his students of the incoming ray. By the way, he does this, because it doesn't mention in the synopsis here, he does this by sending the mental picture of himself up through the earth since he's in this cave. He sends a mental picture up of himself to the X-Men to warn them just before the ionic ray hits them. So
yeah, he doesn't give them much of a lead. I don't think it's actually a picture he's sending. I'm pretty sure it's just supposed to be his voice in their head, and they just drew the picture so that the reader of the comic would know who was speaking.
Yeah, probably. That's probably exactly what it was. It's probably just supposed to be his, just talking to my thought.
Yeah, at least that's how I interpreted it.
It's hard to know with these 60 comics sometimes, to be fair.
Yeah, I might be giving Jack entirely too much credit there, but that's how I read it.
That's how X-Men stories play out later on, so it makes sense to read it that way. So the X-Men are able to dodge it with Xavier's warning. He tells the X-Men of Lucifer's bomb and that Lucifer cannot be harmed. The Avengers, I don't know if he actually goes into that much detail here. I think he just tells them you have to make sure nothing happens.
Yeah, he just told them they couldn't hurt Lucifer.
Yeah, you have to make sure the Avengers can't hurt Lucifer, blah, 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 whatever. So the Avengers arrive and want to destroy the menace detected by Thor's hammer. A battle between the two groups ensues. Lucifer laughs after seeing the two groups fighting each other. Professor Xavier uses distraction to mentally knock Lucifer unconscious without changing his heartbeat. Pretty impressive. And then, using telepathy, alerts Thor to the truth. Thor informs the rest of the Avengers of Lucifer's defeat, and they depart. So, yeah, technically, like we were saying, he didn't actually fully tell the X-Men what was going on. He actually tells them when they come to the cave later. But so technically, Thor is the first person to fully know what's going on here.
Which makes the fight make more sense than most Marvel hero fights.
Yes.
Because it's not just that they're not communicating with each other, it's the X-Men actually don't know why Lucifer can't be hurt.
The X-Men literally can't tell the Avengers because they don't know themselves. So that's why I cleared that up, because it makes the fight make more sense. Professor Xavier leads the X-Men to him so they can defuse the bomb. He detects the bomb's weak point and orders Cyclops to use his power full force, but in a hairline beam on the bomb's fuse. Thank God, Cyclops already has so much control over his powers.
We're talking about the same man that almost passed out from using them just normally earlier in this issue.
We're talking about the man who many times after this does not have so much control over his powers.
Yeah, but he probably does have control of the visor.
Yeah, fair. It's I don't know. I think
it's inconsistent.
Cyclops makes it funny.
Oh yeah.
But he shatters the bomb's fuse with the hairline beam. The bomb is diffused, and Xavier mentally wakes up Lucifer. Lucifer tells him that it took him 10 years to make the bomb. Damn, that's a lot of effort down the drain, if I tell you what. And Xavier says that he lost the permanent use of his legs. That 10 years to make the bomb, and Xavier says he lost the permanent use of... Oh yeah, because he's saying it back to Lucifer. That just was a rough sentence to read. So Xavier's just saying to Lucifer that, well, that's not losing that much. I don't have my legs. That's what he's...
Yeah, they glossed over it, but it's revealed earlier that Lucifer is the one who paralyzed Xavier.
Yeah, that's what they reveal here. That's the big revelation.
And it's never been retconned. That's still active today. Most of their bad 60s decisions have been fixed by later writers. Yeah. But despite the fact, and I'm going to spoil something here, that in like 2 or 3 issues, they have a moment where Xavier's half-brother, Cain Marco, drives him off a fucking cliff in a car. Which is clearly Jack trying to give Stan an out for a better reason why Xavier's paralyzed. They never changed that it was Lucifer.
Incredible. I thought that it was like Cain Marco, but I don't know. Anyway.
Because that's what it should have been. But no, this is still canon to this day.
That might just be reader retcon then that I don't know. That's weird. Anyways, I guess we'll see that in a few issues then. But yeah, to Xavier, Lucifer's only suffered a minor setback. The X-Men leave Lucifer alone in his own cave, telling him that there is no place on Earth he can go to escape the retribution of the X-Men. And the story ends here. So he's not killed anymore.
And the thing we were hinting at that isn't mentioned in the synopsis is Xavier flat out tells him he won't kill someone for no reason, despite the fact that he was earlier going to kill him.
Yeah, and technically, could you justify that Xavier does have a reason if he's the one that paralyzed him? But anyway, whatever.
Yeah, but I
Um,
think that was me misremembering exactly how it was worded because it was a week ago that I reread this, but it was something along the lines of he wouldn't kill except maybe in self-defense or so.
yeah. There's a couple notes here. I mean, the one that's not as important that's right here is there was a nice pinup of Marvel Girl at the back, but that's not too important. The main note, the first one here, is that in X-Men #1, Professor Xavier says that he lost the use of his legs in a childhood accident. The full origin of how Professor Xavier lost the use of his legs is given in X-Men #20. That's what it's saying here, apparently. Um, the Avengers appear, yep, they do, for the first time. Oh, this is talking about how the Beast will later join the Avengers, so yeah, that's cool. Um, that's about it. Yep. So that's X-Men issue #9. Um, I like this one. I gave it a solid 3.
Same here. I
There's
like that Lucifer actually wasn't that dangerous a villain.
He sure wasn't.
And I think that's a mistake they make later on when he reappears. They try to make him actually threatening. And here, like, his entire plan was basically he's like, oh shit, Charles Xavier is going to try to kill me. I need a defense.
Yeah. You can't stop my heart, bitch. Like, he took 10 years to make sure that Xavier couldn't kill him.
Yeah, just to be like, how badly do you want me dead?
Yeah. So, and then Xavier's like, what? You thought I was going to kill you? What? Why'd you think that?
I just traveled halfway across the globe in an era of relatively inefficient travel, especially for the handicapped, with a firearm. Which at the time were largely illegal to, because it's a handgun, which were largely illegal to obtain in Germany at the time, which means he smuggled it onto the plane from America. Or boat, depending on how he got there. But either way, he smuggled it through customs to go and murder a man and then just gave up on the idea.
Xavier really channeling his inner American in this issue.
More likely Stan not thinking about how hard it is to obtain that in Europe.
Oh,
They even have it on the cover.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite something. But a pretty good story, really. It was cool here to see the Avengers and X-Men interacting. I think there was like a spotlight on Giant Man interacting with them a little bit, but I don't.
Yes, there was, because they're really trying to get people to please read his book.
They've really been pushing Hank hard recently. In Avengers, the last Avengers we had read, he was really spotlighted as well. And this X-Men, when the Avengers appear, he's one of the more spotlighted Avengers.
He's going to be fairly spotlighted until his book gets canceled.
Yeah.
Like, I think he'll largely start disappearing from Avengers focus once he gets the stupid blue costume. Because that's kind of the point where they gave up and they're like, all right, this book's canceled. We just need to wrap things up. But as long as they thought there was a hope they were saving Giant Man, they were going to push him hard and hope that people would go read his comic.
Please read that book.
Unfortunately, as we covered last episode, the stories they were putting in Giant Man ensured that no one would read it twice.
Except for Bill.
That's even worse because I meant different issues.
I know. No matter which way you look at it, though, it still covers you.
Yes, but the way you were looking at it is both true and way worse.
Bill's very happy I wanted to do this podcast at times.
I feel like I agreed to wrestle Cheeks.
Oh man. That's a punch to the gut if I've ever heard one. But anyways, let's move on to Tales of Suspense number 61A story, which is titled The Death of Tony Stark. I'm sure this is This is a revelation that will last for a long time. Um, Stan Lee writing this one, of course. Art by Don Heck and inks by Dick Ayers. Jack Kirby and Chick Stone on the cover. We got letters by Sam Rosen here. This is an October 1964 release. 12-page story. And I will also take us on a journey for this one. So, let's go. 1 month after Tony Stark's apparent disappearance, Pepper Potts and Happy Hogan leave their resignations with Iron Man because they suspect him to be the one responsible. As they leave the plant, Inspector Flint, the officer in charge of the case, approaches them. At police headquarters, he interrogates Potts and Hogan. A reporter overhears the conversation, which leads to immediate breakout on Stark's disappearance. In his laboratory at his estate, Tony Stark is still encased inside his Iron Man armor, searching for a way to remove his suit without causing his heart to stop beating. And he dares
that
not
armor's
repeat-
got to smell fantastic by now.
Oh, I know. I was thinking that, especially in the last issue I just read. He dares not reveal his secret identity to the world, fearing his enemies could attack his factories in revenge and endanger the lives of his thousands of employees. So Tony Stark's got the Spider-Man attitude currently.
I mean, it would make more sense if his enemies didn't constantly attack Stark Industries and endanger all his employees anyway, just because they're major arms manufacturers, and every single villain Iron Man faces is a communist.
Yeah, it really wouldn't make that much of a difference, really, but, you know, especially since Tony's trying to not love Pepper and whatever, but, you know.
I respect the attempt from Tony, but he really needed to think things through a little more.
Yeah. Him, Stan, one of the... both. The next day, Happy sneaks into Tony's estate, hoping to find clues in the mansion he believes is abandoned. Yes, Happy does just casually break and enter.
But he's white, so it's okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
And wealthy.
Tony notices Happy and, with no time to run, barely slips into his bed before Happy enters through the window. When Pepper arrives at the mansion after being informed by Happy, Tony claims that a doctor had ordered him to remain in bed, and he had pretended he was on a trip to not worry anybody. As Happy and Pepper leave the estate, they agree that the entire situation still feels odd, and Pepper even theorizes that maybe Stark is actually a prisoner of Iron Man. Meanwhile, high up in the sky, a mysterious satellite is being controlled remotely by the Mandarin in his castle. Once it is in position...
There was an important part that was omitted here. Well, not really important, but just, I think, bears mentioning because of pure unadulterated dickishness. The entire press of the United States gets wind of this, which is how the owner of the satellite finds out where Tony is.
Yes.
But the press won't leave. They're not content to just do live reports from in front of Tony's house. They will not leave until they can go into his bedroom and do a full fucking press conference with the person who's supposed to be on death's door in bed sick because he can't go anywhere.
Sounds about right, yeah. Yeah, so... yeah, they do. The press is kind of important because it does lead to this next part here.
Plus, it's just pure dickishness that they're not like, okay. Because, I mean, the press is plenty insensitive. But generally, the one person to give respect to is wealthy industrialists.
Yeah. They really wanted that fucking scoop.
Yeah.
Once the satellite is in position, the villain releases a powerful energy beam from the device that annihilates Tony Stark's mansion. Alerted by, well, part of it hits his bedroom. Alerted by his armor's sensors, Iron Man escapes at the last second. Pepper and Happy hurry back to the Stark estate and find that Iron Man is fine. Stark is seemingly dead. Pepper goes to Inspector Flint, blaming Iron Man for Stark's death. However, because of the oddity of what was used to destroy the mansion, the case is now in the government's hands. On the shore of Long Island, Happy grieves the loss of his boss, even if his death means Happy could have an opportunity with Pepper. So we still have the heavy love triangle. plot line that's been going on here too.
This synopsis made it sound like the villain's a mystery too. It's the Mandarin. It's revealed to be the Mandarin in this comic.
Well, in the first sentence of the one where they talked about satellite, it mentioned the Mandarin, but like it's kind of thrown away. It's not really fully.
Okay, I must have just missed you saying that.
Well, it was when you were getting ready to talk about the press part, so you probably.
That's what it was. I missed that because like a mystery villain could be cool, but no, in this case, it's blatant as the Mandarin to the point that they show him. So
exactly. In his laboratory, Iron Man tracks down the perpetrator of the crime, the Mandarin. The Mandarin prepares for the inevitable confrontation with Iron Man, while Stark himself flies under the skies in an airplane to China. Stark opens the emergency door in mid-flight and jumps. Which is hilarious.
the file under things Stan doesn't know about: pressurized cabins.
Yeah. It's truly a sight when Tony just jumps out.
Tony just killed everyone on that plane to get a surprise attack on the Mandarin that doesn't even surprise him.
Yeah. Once Iron Man reaches the perimeter of Mandarin's castle, the villain uses a powerful beam to trap and pull him to the rocks, but Tony breaks the fall using his repulsors. The Mandarin uses hypnotic lights to weaken his foe, so he can be finished off by Koto, a giant humanoid robot. The robot brings the unconscious Iron Man to his master, and the Mandarin ties him to a wheel that will spin him to his death with the press of a button. First, though, the Mandarin wants to tell his origin story.
I forgot all that was in this comic. I thought that was in the next one, which is why I was complaining that I hadn't mentioned the Mandarin earlier.
This issue has a weird cutoff.
I remembered it ending, for some reason, even though I just read it, I remembered it ending with Happy mourning Tony's death. Which is where it should have ended.
Yeah. This story
That's
has
a good cliffhanger point. Like, even though we know Iron Man's alive, like, that's a good cliffhanger point that his house has been destroyed, and Happy thinks he's dead. Pepper's trying to get him arrested for his own murder.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, that's the end of the first part of what, obviously, if you couldn't tell, is a two-part story. Pretty good. I gave this one a 3. This one was actually pretty enjoyable. This was this was kind of close to a 4, but I would have given this a 3.5 for sure if we had half stars. But
yeah, this was a 3 for me. But if they had cut it where I said, it would have been a 4.
Yeah,
the bit with him going to fight the Mandarin actually lowered the quality of this comic.
It's quite the switch in the atmosphere and feel of the comic.
Yeah, but I think
Really
I think that's largely an indicator of the time. They weren't comfortable running a superhero story without some level of actual superheroics in it.
Yeah.
And so they weren't content to tell a story where Iron Man really didn't do anything.
We needed the action cliffhanger instead of the emotional cliffhanger.
Yeah. Still, this is a really good issue, and it's one I remember a lot from the early Iron Man section as one of the better ones.
Yeah, no, this was really good for sure. Iron Man's been on a really good stretch recently. But yeah, let's move on to the next one, which is issue 62A story, which is titled The Origin of the Mandarin. We are getting exactly that. Stan Lee writing again, of course. Don Heck and Dick Ayers, art and ink duo. Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers on the cover. Sam Rosen on letters. October 1964 release, and another 12-page story. And this one will go to Bill.
Alright. With Iron Man, his nemesis, tied to a wheel with titanium bonds, the Mandarin decides to tell him a story no one has ever heard. His origin story. Because villains can't just shut the fuck up and murder the hero. The Mandarin takes Iron Man back to the day he was born. According to himself, the Mandarin's father was a direct descendant of Genghis Khan, but married a high-born Englishwoman, supposedly making the gods feel displeased when the Mandarin was born. An idol fell upon the Mandarin's father and killed him, and his mother died of a broken heart upon hearing the news. The orphan child was given to his aunt, however she hated him because he would inherit the wealth instead of her. When the Mandarin's aunt set out to abandon the child in another village, a chandelier fell next to her. She interpreted the accident as an omen and thought she was bound to never leave his side. Because of this, she decided to teach him to hate the world the way she did. Every bit of gold of the Mandarin's inheritance was spent teaching him science and the art of war, but the Chinese army took away his home and land for tax evasion. Mandarin's aunt died the following day, leaving him completely alone. While he was now poor, the Mandarin walked proud of being a descendant of Khan. That's an awkward sentence. One day, when he was walking a path leading to the dreaded and forbidden Valley of Spirits, the Mandarin was lured by a powerful light to the ruins of a mysterious alien structure, a spaceship. While he explored every bit of the vessel, he discovered a machine that fed into his mind the logs of the ship's captain, an alien called Axon Kar of the planet Maklu 4. Axon Kar had explored the universe and met his end when he arrived to the Earth, as he was fatally wounded by humans who were scared of his appearance. In the future, we will meet another inhabitant of Maklu 4 in the form of Fing Fang Foom.
Oh. Well done.
That's not for a long time, though. Before leaving the ship, the Mandarin retrieved its power source, 10 rings that contained unlimited energy. The Mandarin then established a deserted castle in the middle of the valley, where he spent years studying the alien science of Axon Kar, and managed to harness the powers of the 10 rings, with each one having a different power he could command at will, and which will randomly change as new writers take over this title.
Oh, you love that.
Yeah. Using the power of the rings, the Mandarin subjugated entire villages to his will. After finishing his story, the Mandarin activates the wheel Iron Man was strapped to, which would spin faster and faster until its victim died. With the machine running, the Mandarin left to continue his plan of world domination. He planned to demonstrate a missile to the Chinese army and have it set to reach Formosa, hoping to trigger World War III and step in once the democracies and the communists had exhausted themselves fighting. For those of you not familiar with now defunct national names, Formosa is Taiwan.
I wasn't, so that's good to know.
Once the villain left, Iron Man used a concealed diamond blade in the tip of his gauntlet to snap one of the titanium cords. He then connected it to the power pack of his wrist and turned the wheel into a generator that would recharge his suit the faster it moved. After recharging his suit, Iron Man applied his own strength and caused the wheel to snap from its axle, crash into the wall, and break. Or, he could have just cut himself out with the blade that was already established. Once freed from the remains of the wheel, Iron Man used a solar scanner beam to track down the Mandarin to a military base. In the military base, the Mandarin attended the launch of the missile and proceeded to leave. Iron Man intercepted the weapon and changed its course, causing it to plummet and crash into its launching site, making the Chinese army believe that the Mandarin had betrayed them. As the Mandarin was leaving his castle in his ship, Iron Man threw a boulder into the vehicle's path, causing it to crash. After questioning what could have caused the boulder to move, Iron Man showed himself and confronted the Mandarin. The two enemies managed to counter each other's attacks. Iron Man dodged the beam from the Mandarin's flame ring. The Mandarin used an energy beam of his own to block Iron Man's, and then the Golden Avenger saw himself unaffected by poison gas thanks to his armor's filtering system. Iron Man proceeded to pick up the boulder, but before throwing it to the Mandarin, he was blinded with a flashing light. He still managed to throw it at the Mandarin, but the villain destroyed it with his disintegrator ray. The Mandarin then used a gas solidifier to trap Iron Man in the air surrounding him, but the fight was interrupted by the Chinese army who wanted the Mandarin's head. The villain proceeded to trap Iron Man in a beam of black light to distract him and escape to the safety of his castle. After freeing himself from the dark matter, the Chinese and the Mandarin had left the scene. Also, Stan doesn't know what black light is. A few hours later, Iron Man managed to catch a ride back home aboard a USAF jet. Meanwhile, the Mandarin ponders in his base and sets out to never rest until he destroys Iron Man. And yes, that wasn't me misspeaking. Whoever wrote this made a typo and did write sets out. Or set outs.
Nice.
But that's the end. This one was pretty good, but not nearly as good as the first half.
I agree. And in fact, I agreed with that statement so much that I didn't even give this one a 3. I gave this one a 2. I just didn't like it as much.
Wow, I still went 3. To me, it was like fine.
I didn't really want. I don't know. I didn't care for Mandarin's origin. I just didn't.
Yeah, I didn't love his origin, but it was historically important. And I mean, this was pretty much just a fight issue, and it worked fine as that.
Yeah. I could see why people would still like this, but it just wasn't for me. I just wasn't feeling this one. This one kind of... Iron Man had a lot of momentum, and this didn't carry through for me. No?
No, fortunately, I think he picks it back up in the next one.
I disagree.
I don't actually remember what the next one is.
Well, I will see next week. Anyways, so yeah, that was the fucking number 62 A story for Tales of Suspense. Next, we will move into Avengers number 11, which is titled The Mighty Avengers Meet Spider-Man.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, no, it doesn't pick it up next time. It takes a little longer.
This one's written by, of course, Stan Lee. Don Heck is on art here, which, amen. Chick Stone on inks. Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers on the cover, apparently. Sam Rosen's on letters. October 1964 release date, a 20-page story. And Bill will take us through this lovely tale.
I just want to mention as I scroll down to where they finally got the synopsis in this, they have all the characters listed earlier on the wiki. And the top featured character is Giant Man, continuing their trend of pushing him hard.
Yep.
Anyway, this should take a while. It's a very detailed and complex synopsis. Iron Man is declared on leave of absence from the Avengers as he is missing, and now they are weaker. Kang tries to defeat them again. He creates a robotic replica of Spider-Man because of his vast range of powers. The robot Spider-Man attempts to join the Avengers, claiming he knows the whereabouts of Iron Man. He leads the Avengers to a temple, where he separates them and defeats them all, one by one. However, the real Spider-Man appears on the scene, defeats the robot copy, and saves the Avengers. I am done. That's the synopsis we have.
Incredible. That's about all it deserves, really.
They really didn't miss this much. This is a fight issue.
Yeah, I like this one.
It was fun, but nothing happens in it.
I could have also gone without reading it, to be honest.
It's an ad for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's literally an ad for Amazing Spider-Man.
Not that he necessarily needed one, but...
More likely, Avengers sales were falling, so they put 2 Spider-Man in there just to boost it.
Probably. Yeah, like I said, 3 stars. I mean...
Yeah, 3 stars for me, too. It was an average, enjoyable comic book.
Yeah, it really was. I really wasn't expecting it to be that short, so let's get right to the details of Suspense.
No, that's what I was joking about. This is a super complicated synopsis, but thinking back, like, this issue really doesn't deserve more. Like, nothing happens in it. It's just them fighting with the Spider-Man robot, which is basically just Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man fighting with the Spider-Man robot, and then the Avengers being like, oh, I guess that wasn't Spider-Man. He isn't a dick. And then it's over.
Yeah. So, The B story of this Suspense number 61. The Strength of the Sumo is the title. Stan Lee writing. Jack Kirby is on art with inks by Chick Stone. Artie Simics on letters. October 1964, of course. And 10 pages of story. And Bill, take us away with this lovely tale.
Sure. Captain America travels to Vietnam and launches a lone attack on an army of Viet Cong troops. After fighting armed guards to a standstill, Captain America tells the commanding officer that he's seeking to barter for the release of a captured American helicopter pilot. After fighting off the Major's two best men, Captain America is taken into the city where he is reunited with the pilot Jim Baker, whose brother helped Cap at an ETO back in World War II. And whoever wrote this doesn't know military acronyms, because there's no such thing as an ETO. ETO means European Theater of Operations. It's just fighting in Europe in World War II. But this turns out to be a bit of a trap, as the Major summons his general, a giant by the name of Sumo, who matches strength against Captain America. After a quick battle, Captain America defeats Sumo, and he and Jim escape the palace and steal a plane to fly back to the United States. This synopsis also did a fair bit of covering up for how terrible this is, because the giant's name isn't Sumo. The giant is a sumo, because Stan, and presumably Jack, because Jack drew the story, don't know that Japan is a different country from Vietnam, and therefore they have different cultural norms and activities. So yes, he does fight a giant Japanese sumo wrestler in Vietnam because Stan is bad at geography.
Yep.
This story's terrible.
It's terrible. It's terrible, but I somehow managed to not hate it. I gave this one a 2. I still didn't like it, but it wasn't 1 for me.
I also gave it a 2. It's not giant man terrible. But it is. It's just another pointless, nothing story.
It's racist, while also being progressive in the fact that at least Cap's coming to save a black man.
Yeah, and I'll give it credit. It's less racist than I expected, given that I've read a million 50s Korean war stories.
Yeah.
Comparatively, this isn't that racist.
Yeah, I was expecting
the
worse,
sumo was not yellow.
Yeah.
And I don't think the version I read was recolored, so I'm pretty sure he wasn't yellow the first time. I mean, he was colored like a white guy instead of a realistic Asian, but I'd rather white guy colored Asians than, highlighter colored Asians.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I mean, it's really not good, but it could have been worse. I mean, I like the Jim and Cap interactions. So
I wish they'd done more with that.
Yeah, me too. There was something there.
Yeah.
But, anyways, let's move on from one Cap to another Cap, and go to 62's B story, which is called Breakout in Cell Block 10. This one, Stan Lee, of course, here, art by Kirby, inks by Chick Stone, Artie Simics on letters here, November 1964, of course, 10-page story, and I will take us through this, what obviously is the main event of the episode. Okay, so putting on a demonstration of his acrobatics. They even make a joke at the start of this issue that, remember a few issues ago when Captain America did a demonstration of his powers? Well, you think the guy would have learned, but he didn't. You guys are the one fucking making this story. Get
this
some
is
fucking
one
ideas.
of the traits I hate the most about Stan Lee. He thinks that if he calls attention to bad story writing elements he's incorporating, it forgives him from using the bad elements. He does the same thing when he makes the nonsensical, wacky story, and he's like, boy, this sure is a wacky story. I wonder what drugs we were on in the bullpen this week.
Yeah, he's already done this multiple times that we've seen. Like, this is a fucking Impossible Man, Infant Terrible situation. This is a fucking. We had it. I think we had it in something else semi
Yeah.
recently too. Like
Oh,
this
he's
month.
still doing it. They're still doing it in 75. They'll have like a terrible story, and they're like, "Well, we pulled out a wacky one for you this week."
So yeah, it's pretty bad trait, but whatever. Putting on a demonstration of his acrobatic abilities for the warden of a prison, Captain America soon finds out that it's all a trap. What? And that the warden and his staff have actually been locked up in cell block 10, and the inmates have taken their place. Stealing Captain America's shield and locking him up with the warden, Captain America breaks out of his cell and fights off the prisoners who are trying to use it to open the magnetically sealed front gate of the prison. Defeating the breakout's leader, Cap, which names is Deacon. It doesn't mention that at all in the synopsis, but the leader here is Deacon, who's pretending to be the warden.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't think Deacon ever shows up again.
He does. That's why I'm mentioning it.
Oh, shit, does he?
Yeah, there's literally a note in it. I've already read ahead. Defeating the breakout's leader, Cap takes back his shield, and the warden and his guards take back control of the prison. Later, Captain America explains that the crooks were probably trying to use his shield to open the door because it once had been. No, we knew this already because they had literally said that's what was their goal was, and then Cap said, "Well, the fight was going on that he took the magnetic devices off." So this is just a retcon of his shield having magnetic abilities that Iron Man put on for him, or
Yeah.
Tony Stark, technically, whatever. Who cares? It once had magnetic devices built into it. They figured might be able to open a door, but that these devices he had recently removed them from his shield. That was a fucked sentence. Asking what the code word to open the door was, he's told it's Captain America. This shit sucked, but there's a note before we talk about how much this sucked. To what I was teasing earlier, Thumper, Morgan, and Deacon will next appear in Captain America number 260, a sequel to this issue's Cap story. So yes, this story gets a sequel that was well needed, of course.
Yeah, I just looked that up because I didn't believe Deacon actually shows up again. And it might be one of the most gay porno-looking comic covers I've ever seen.
Okay, I gotta see this now. Okay,
It's Captain America behind bars.
Appearances, let's go to Deacon. Oh my god, it's that issue. Oh my god, that cover's been redone, and that cover was brought back from Marvel Legacy.
I was making fun of this issue in our group chat for being homoerotic, but that one is homoerotic. Oh my god, Captain America behind bars. All he needs is like a big burly hand on his.
That's considered a classic cover there. That's been reused. Oh my god, that's too good. I can't believe the story gets a sequel. This was awful. I gave this a 1 star. I actually actively hated this one, unlike the last one.
I gave it a 2 because one thing bothered me, and I liked one thing, so they kind of canceled out to a 2. Because I liked that they got rid of the stupid magnets that didn't need to be there. But then any goodwill that earned immediately disappeared when the password was Captain America.
Yeah, I'm fine with the magnets being gone, but this story pretty much existed to explain that. So
Yeah.
I didn't really need a whole story that was this painful. This was just a really painful read for me. This was almost more offensive than the racism just for how bad this was.
Yeah. I didn't really find this story bad so much as literally 2 Captain Americas ago.
Well, that's part of the issue, though, is that
Yeah.
this literally just Stan fucking poking fun of it doesn't make it acceptable, like we said at the start.
Oh,
I think that really got to me.
Yeah, there's nothing good about this story. It didn't fall into 1 star territory.
That's fair. It's a 2.09. It's a little higher than the last one on the site. It's just personally for me, fuck this story.
Someone liked it since I loaded this page, then it's 2.08 on my screen. Someone liked this story in the time we were talking about it.
That's fucking Unreal. Oh wait, it's 2.08 again for me now. It was just somebody must have somebody must have hated
Maybe
it
they
since
heard us.
somebody hated it since we started because it was literally
They heard us
2.09
and they're
when it
like,
first loaded.
I can't do this, and took it down.
Fuck. Oh, so absurd. Anyway, yeah, no, I just didn't like this one personally, but that's our
No,
last
this
story
is not
for
a
this week.
good story.
It really isn't. But Bills 2 is also acceptable. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
not gonna argue with it. But that's our comics for this week. Before we go to our end of the month stuff, we might as well tease what's coming next week. First off, we will continue Tales of Suspense because we're in a little good old arc right now, I guess.
They're just trying to clean up stuff that got missed when we plunged ahead with Giant Man there.
Yeah, we did. We had a lot of Giant Man, so we're catching up. Tales of Suspense number 63 will start next week's episode off. The A story for Iron Man. We meet the Phantom, and it should be titled Tony Stark Dead No More, but we'll talk about that next week. The B story of Tales of Suspense 63 is the origin of Captain America as we finally go back in time, as Bill has been teasing. Then, not Tales, Journey in the Mystery number 113, where we get the return of the Grey Gargoyle. Obviously, that's
My
the most
boy!
important thing that's going to happen. The B story will cover the boyhood of Loki. Then there is actually something in between here as we get our next Sergeant Fury issue, number 13. And then to close us out, we will finish both stories of the next Tales of Suspense after that. So 64A story has the return of Hawkeye and the new Black Widow. And then, I hope that matches with the new Giant Man. But anyways, the B story will have the record as well.
For the record, when they say the new Black Widow, she's closer to her classic design. It's still not the Black Widow we know.
Oh no. The Black Widow that we know it doesn't come for a long time.
No,
Well,
pretty
no,
much
that's not true.
As soon as they do the lineup change in Avengers.
Yeah, no, it comes then, but then I guess the costume that is the most well known is what I'm trying to say. Doesn't come for a while. But the look with the red hair.
I think she has the modern costume at that point too, like the black, like full bodysuit. Unless you're thinking of a different costume.
I might be. I don't know. Because there's like an Amazing Spider-Man issue with her in it that's like her costume change or something. But
yeah, but that's right around there.
is it? Okay. I thought it was later for some reason. But yeah, so next week should be interesting.
I think that one comes before. That Spider-Man comes before they even introduce Medusa.
Well, yeah, so that's next week's comics we will cover. Hopefully we'll have Dan back, but we'll see. He might he might be in a friggin' mental institute by then, who knows. But our end of the month stuff, first I say we do our pull list segment because I like ending on the highs and lows.
Yeah, same here. Mine's not changing.
Mine is I'm axing Daredevil off my list. I actually thought about this for a little bit while we've been recording. I was like, I feel like something's probably changing this month, and I had to think about it. I love Purple Man in issue 4. He's a boy for me, but well, he's not really a boy because he's been on the show, but still. Yeah, Daredevil 5 just really.
Daredevil 5 sucked, but
didn't offend me as much as the introduction of a new artist and bad ideas.
Yeah.
And it just broke me a little bit.
Daredevil 5 sucked, but I think it gets a pass for another month for me because it was the only really bad Daredevil story we've had so far, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't
want to kick it for one bad story. It'll be getting the axe soon enough, but.
Yeah, I think I was including. Well, issue 3 I didn't really like either. Like, issues 1 and 2 were fine. In issue 4, I liked the Purple Man, so I gave it a pass. But 3 and 5, and yeah, this series could be added back to my pull list. But for now, off it goes because
I think Daredevil's getting yeeted off mine as soon as Stilt Man rolls around. So possibly next issue. I can't remember if it's next issue or the one after that.
We'll find out soon, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's our poll list segments. Dan still has his 2 series that he's kind of admitted to being interested in. So yeah. And if you don't know what those are, by the way, it's Suspense and X-Men, I believe.
Yes.
Dan probably would arguably be debating throwing Suspense off with Cap stories in it now, but we won't remind him of that.
Yeah, we'll let him keep it. So now the quick rundown of what we have covered this month.
Yeah, so we know
Or
what we could
Journey
choose
into Depression.
from. This wasn't a great month.
It started strong and went downhill fast.
Yes.
We had Fury 11 with the crackdown of Captain Flint, where Captain Flint takes over the Howlers and tries to clean them up. Then Fury 12, when a Howler turns traitor, where Nick demonstrates poor communication skills. Tales to Astonish number 61 A story, Now Walks the Android, where Egghead builds a shitty robot. Journey into Mystery 110 A story, Every Hand Against Him, where the Cobra and Hyde kill Jane. And Journey into Mystery 111 A story, The Power of the Thunder God, where it didn't take.
That popped me.
Journey into Mystery 110 B story, The Defeat of Odin. That's that stupid one with the army that Odin randomly loses to so that they'll have a good leader in the future. Journey into Mystery number 111 B story, The Secret of Sigurd. With Sigurd. Tales to Astonish number 62 A story, Giant Man versus the Wonderful Wasp, or What Happens When You Buy Plant Man off of AliExpress. Tales of Suspense number 60 A story, Suspected of Murder, which is when they first think Tony may have killed, or Iron Man may have killed Tony, and he fights Hawkeye and Black Widow.
Now
Somehow they never seem overused, despite the fact that they're in like every 3 Iron Man stories.
Yeah, true. Somehow I now because of that slip up, I just want to see its toy where it's about Tony possibly killing Iron Man.
Tales of Suspense number 60B story, The Army of Assassins strikes. Captain America grapples with a bunch of sweaty men in the YMCA, but it's less gay than it sounds. Journey into Mystery 112 A story, The Mighty Thor battles the entire Hulk, where Thor tells stories to children while wearing a flamboyant costume, so we have to make sure the Republicans don't hear about that.
Yeah.
Journey into Mystery 112 B story, The Coming of Loki, where if you want to get technical, it really should have been The Coming of Laufey. Since I know you didn't read these, I'm working in some of the jokes.
No, I read it while we were recording earlier.
Okay.
I almost broke up laughing at some of them.
Fantastic Four number 32, Death of a Hero, where Stan proves to have a thing about dead dads. Fantastic Four number 33, Side by Side with the Submariner. They go see Submariner again, only don't actually see him. Tales to Astonish number 63, A story, The Gangster and the Giant. Hank struggles to beat a completely normal guy again. X-Men number 8, Unis the Untouchable. Terrible, terrible pro wrestling story.
Terrible, terrible joke.
Yes.
That's the one that almost really broke me.
Yeah. Daredevil number 5, The Mysterious Masked Matador, where Matt deals with a load of bull fighter. Tales to Astonish number 64, A story, When Atuma Strikes, How the Mediocre Have Fallen. Avengers number 10, The Avengers break up and we get another Doom identity. X-Men number 9, Enter the Avengers. We just read that. Death of Tony Stark. Origin of the Mandarin, Spider-Man, Strength of the Sumo, and Breakout in Cellbox 10, finishing up the stuff we covered this month.
So, like normal, we will go with our lows first, what our least favorite of the month was. It's pretty much a game of which of the five Giant Man, four or five, whatever it was, that you
Yeah,
hated
I
the
think we're
most.
going to have the same, for both our worst and our best, I think we're both going to have the same titles, but
I
different
don't,
issues.
yeah. I was about to say, we won't have the same issues, because I know you hated a different Giant Man than I did. I'm going with the Atuma issue, 64.
Yeah, and I
That one
went
just,
with Egghead Shitty Robot,
fair enough.
61.
Fair enough. It was probably that one or the second story Sammy issue for me because I just hated the plant aspect of that issue especially.
Oh, that one was also terrible. Like, really, it's a tough choice
It's
between all the Giant Mans we covered. This is
yeah, it's literally just pick your poison with Giant Man. We could have justified any one of the Giant Mans being
yeah.
our
Any
least
Giant
favorite.
Man story we covered this month could
And
get on there.
it's kind of sad because there's other comics that are like really shit this month that would qualify under
In a
normal
normal month,
circumstances.
it would have been one of the Captain Americas we talked about today. But
I would
Giant
have
Man
given it,
came in
like,
to save Cap's image.
Cell Block 10 would have been a contender.
Oh, it
They
totally would have been Cell Block 10 for me.
Yeah, probably for me too. There was a couple others, especially shit issues or ones I just didn't like
It
as
actually
much.
might have managed to beat a 5-page Tales of Asgard with Odin letting that army off the hook for because I know what Stan was going for, but he didn't give himself enough space for it to make sense.
Yeah, it was a decent. It was a decent
If he had a
plot.
full-length comic to do that story, it could have been good.
Yeah,
In 5 pages, it was rushed and made no sense and just made Odin look mercurial.
yeah, exactly. But yes, there's our lows, our least
Yeah.
favorite of the month. What is
Anyway,
our
enough discussion about how terrible Giant Man was because everyone's already heard those issues.
Yeah, and we only have four. What is it? Four more Giant Mans to go.
Yeah, I think
it was. Or is
5
it
more.
Five. It's five more. Yeah.
It's 5 more because there's the standalone story that's actually not awful, and then a couple of awful, multi-parters.
Yeah. So five more to go. Thank God. But anyways, our high of the month slash our favorite of the month.
Or
This
which
is-
Sergeant Fury did you like more?
Okay, see, I'm actually gonna surprise you here.
I took Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos number 11. Literally the first story we covered this month was my favorite.
I knew you were gonna go with that one when you said Sergeant Fury is your pick. I enjoyed issue 12 more. And
I expected you were picking issue 12, to be honest.
but it's not what I'm picking. I'm doing a swerve here, brother. It probably would be my pick normally. I really enjoyed the first part of the Thor two-parter, personally. So I'm going with that 110A story.
Okay. Way to go, Russo.
I liked that story a lot. I had given it 4 stars. My 4 stars of the month was that Loki story with Laufey being killed, the Sergeant Fury 12, the Fantastic Four 32, and then that Thor. And I just remember really enjoying that Thor when I was reading it.
You had a
And-
surprising number of 4 stars for this month.
Like in, yeah, I still say it was a weak month, but
Oh,
some-
I agree with you. I mean, I did not like 90% of the stuff we covered this month.
I just gave you the 4 stars or whatever that I had, and I could be forgetting one maybe, but literally the Thor and the Thor and the Fantastic Four were pushed up with like historical relevance. Kind
Yeah,
of, so
and you
they
liked
barely
that
got
Thor
it.
more than I did.
I just thought that was a really good Thor issue. I think it's better than it's probably given credit for, but that's just me. So that's why I'm picking it for my pick this month, just to give
Fair
it some
enough.
love. But yeah, so Swerved Bill, that's cool. We don't know what we don't know what Dan's pick would have been this month, but he would have shit on a Giant Man. Yeah, actually he might have picked the Captain America just because he hates Cap so much, but it would have been between those two characters.
I don't think so. I think it would have been a Giant Man.
It probably would have been. Just
Those
because,
Giant Man stories are so bad.
Yeah.
that I honestly I don't think I would have respect for anyone that picked a non-Giant Man as the worst story this month. I'd figure they were bringing bias about whether they like a character or not in, instead of just judging the comics as like which one's actually worst.
Yeah. No, I think he managed to miss a majority of the Giant Man, so I think he might have only had the Egghead one, but
That's
or maybe
enough.
one other. But that is enough, so that probably would have been his least favorite right there. The one Bill went with or something, but his favorite, he probably would have gone with like an X-Men for his favorite. Or Tony, or
I think it would have been one of the two Sergeant Furies we covered at the start.
Possibly.
Although
Probably
I don't
the one
remember
you like, because he liked the one that you like.
Yeah, he was speaking it up the same way I did, so I'd assume that would be it. But
that probably
since
would
he's
be
not
his
here,
pick
he
as well.
doesn't get official picks.
Oh, he doesn't get official picks. I just felt like kind of brainstorming about what he would have been thinking.
I think you're right. Like, I think it would have been the one I picked, and then potentially he would have had the same picks as me. I just can't remember if there was another Giant Man that he was here for.
Yeah, I can't remember that. I don't. Maybe he was here for the next two, like the second story Sammy and the.
He wasn't here for second story Sammy.
Okay, then I'm not sure. I think he missed literally every other one. Then the lucky bastard.
Yeah, I think he did.
Damn it, that's unfortunate. Anyways, now that we've gone through our monthly segment, which I always enjoy doing, I like picking a favorite and least favorite, and the poll, one of our poll lists finally changed. That's cool.
Yeah, and the other one will be changing soon. I think next month might be my biggest change until they actually start bringing in new books.
Wow.
Because I'm guessing next month we're going to start getting Hulk stories.
Yeah, we might, yeah.
Which will bring in Tales to Astonish.
Fair enough. That's going to be interesting.
Because we're into issues now I would be buying. I just haven't credited them yet because we haven't covered the stories that I'd be buying them for.
Yeah, fucking can't. That would be something else. Crediting. Well, it's still got Giant Man running.
Well, it is going to get credit when Giant Man's in there, because
yeah, but alone.
Yeah, true. We haven't talked about the actually good stories for Hulk.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see on both our ends, because you've already admitted I don't know. I haven't read yet, so we'll see.
Hulk, I think, during the 60s, is the most consistent title.
That's wow.
It's almost never amazing, but it's also almost never bad.
Well, that sometimes counts for a lot. So,
like, even Iron Man, which I've been speaking highly of a lot because we're coming into a fantastic run of Iron Man, has the Morgan Stark issue, and like, is Tony going insane with like hallucinogens that I never like, and the Freak. The Freak is one of the worst villains they have.
So yeah, it's
and they use him fairly regularly.
Some stuff
because it's just Happy on steroids.
Yes. In case anybody didn't know, it's just what if Happy Hogan was a pro wrestler?
Yeah. So Iron Man has like really good stuff, but then just when it gets rolling, it'll throw in something like that, or the Iron Man that Ryan read that I haven't read again yet.
Yeah, like the Phantom.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about next week, so make sure to stay tuned for some Phantom
I think
action.
I liked the Phantom more than you did just because of the tying up the Tony's dead storyline.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't think I actually liked the Phantom. I don't remember what I gave it, and I've already closed that window, but I don't think I liked it.
I definitely have some things to say about that story next week, so I'll have to try to remember them all, but yeah. Anyways, we will wrap this episode up. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and share if you'd like to. If we are also available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and of course Spotify. And if you're on Spotify, give a click on that poll and tell us why you would like to be in Cell Block 10. So, anyway, guys, we will see you all next week. Hopefully, we'll have Dan with us too, so we can enjoy these stories with us. But yeah, anyways.
We're talking about the Phantom next week. I don't think enjoy is necessarily the right term.
We got Captain America and Sergeant Fury, so hopefully we.
I think the Phantom's the only bad one we're covering.
I think. It's
we have the really, really dumb Nazi spy story with Captain America too.
Yeah, that one didn't sound great, but I haven't read it yet. So
it's a straight reprint from 1945. Well, not a straight reprint, but a retelling of a 1945 story.
Oh,
that's
nice.
not nearly as good as the first one because they tell a couple of the things from Captain America 1.
Well,
so if you've read a reprint of Captain America 1, you have read that story, Ryan.
Interesting. I guess I'll find out. But anyway, guys, we will see you all in the next episode, and peace out.
Have a good one, everyone.